My phone rang, and by caller ID, I thought it was my brother Tom. I was so happy to hear from him. But when I answered it, it turned out to be his wife. And in a very quiet voice, she said, "Nancy, your brother has 2 weeks to live. You'd better come say your goodbyes." And once I could catch my breath again, I jumped on the first plane I could and I headed down to Florida. When I first saw my brother, I was startled. He was in a wheelchair now, this big, strong guy who protected me when I was a little girl. And that beautiful, thick black hair was all gone. But his spirit refused to die. He was as feisty as ever. Later that night, we were having dinner around the dining room table, and I looked at him and I said, "Tom, are you scared?" He thought a minute and says, "No, I'm not scared. I'm curious." "Curious?" I said. "What are you curious about?" And he simply said, "I'm curious to see what's going to happen next." The next day we said our goodbyes, and he gave me the biggest, warmest hug I've ever gotten. And he whispered in my ear, "Remember, sis, always stay curious." Well, it was 2010. I went home, and I had gotten caught up in that horrible recession. That 2008 recession swallowed my business, my home, my savings. I had lost everything. And I was so scared. And that's when I remembered my brother's choice of words, curious. And I thought if it could make him positive at the end of his life, what could it do for me? So I took that word scared and I replaced it with curious. And I thought, I'm curious where my next home will be. I'm curious how I'll decorate it. And I found that the more often I used that word curious, the easier it got. Did my situation change? No. But I was finally able to take those obstacles and look at them as opportunities. I was able to lead a more positive life so I could see what lied in front of me and not be depressed when I got out of bed in the morning. So I say to you, the next time you're scared or lonely or depressed, try replacing those words with curious and see what it does for you. My hope is that it helps you and changes your life the way that it did for me.